Hello everyone! In this video, we're going to draw a super cute honey-loving bear in a children's book illustration style. We will jump straight into coloring, add some fun textures, and finish with those magical little details. Everything I use, from the sketch to the color palette and brushes, is linked in the video description. The line art and color palette are totally free to download, and the brushes I'm using are available on my website. So grab your iPad and let's draw this adorable bear together. As you see now, I am creating a new layer for this step underneath our sketch. The brush that I'm using is the chalk brush from my flat color brush set. You will see that I'm starting with the bear's leg that is on the left. That's because it's the part that's furthest away from us in this drawing. The leg on the right is a bit closer to us, and then his belly will sit on top of both legs. So I'm beginning with the shapes that are at the very bottom, and then we will build everything else on top of that as we go. When you are applying the base colors, especially around the edges, try to loosen up your grip on the Apple Pencil. You want to use your wrist more and let your hand move naturally. Don't tense up. I usually make my brush size a bit smaller when I'm working around the edges to get that nice, soft, chalky texture. Once the edges feel good, I often bump up the brush size to quickly fill in the larger areas. You see now I'm double checking my layer order. This is always a good habit to keep things clean and easy to adjust later on. Now I created a new layer on top of those two base color layers we just finished. On this new layer, I'm drawing the bear's arms, the ones that sit on top of his legs and belly. We're still using the same color as before, which is the very first color in the top row of the color palette. You will notice I like to turn the sketch layer on and off as I go. This helps me get a clearer look at the shape of the color blocks and make sure the edges are looking clean. Now you see I'm creating a new layer between the belly layer and the arm layer. That's because we are adding the honey part. For the color, I'm using the 5th swatch in the first row of our color palette. It's got that nice warm yellow tone, perfect for a honey pot. Since the pot sits in between his belly and his arm, it makes sense to place it on a layer right in between those two, so everything stacks properly. Here I realized I needed to go back to the arm layer to draw the other hand, the one that's peeking out from behind the honey pot. Now that we've laid down a few different color blocks, I'm turning off the sketch layer to get a clearer look at how everything is coming together. You can see there are still some small gaps, those little white spaces between the shapes that makes the edges look a bit unfinished. So here I'm figuring out which layer I need to go back to and gently filling in those areas to make sure every color block looks solid, clean, and nicely connected. Now I'm creating a new layer for the green scarf our bear is wearing. For the color, I'm using the 4th swatch in the first row of the color palette, which you can find in the video description. Then I just go ahead and lay down the base color for the scarf on this new layer. This scarf layer sits on top of all the previous ones, since the scarf is wrapping over his whole body. Next, as you see, I am creating a new layer to draw the face for this cute bear. Then I'm adding smaller color blocks that complete the base coloring stage. These include the bear's nose, eyes, and the little decorative elements on the side, the tiny bee, of course. I'm also adding the lighter brown color inside of the bear's ears and the deeper yellow for the inside of the honey pot. Each of these parts gets its own layer, so everything stays easy to adjust later. And with that, we've got all our base colors in place. Looking pretty good so far, right? Alright, now you can see that I am alpha locking all the base color layers. This is because we are going to the next step, which is adding some texture to every single color block that we already painted. You can see that I'm switching to the brush gloss texture from my texture brushes set. The alpha lock effect will help to lock in the colors so that we can add shading and texture without affecting the outside of the shapes. You see that as I add these darker tones with the texture brush, the bear's head starts to have a bit more dimension. It's beginning to look like it has some real volume and depth, which really brings it to life. Most of the time, I like to start by shaping the larger color blocks in an illustration. So as you can see, I just finished adding texture to the bear's head, and now I'm moving on to the rest of the body. The idea here is to define the volume of each color block so that every part of the bear's body has more depth and complexity. This gives the illustration a more interesting and dynamic feel, with each area having its own unique range of colors and shadows. If you're enjoying this tutorial and want to follow along with every step in real time, the full-length version is available in my shop. Just check the link in the video description. And there's a special coupon code down there too for 10% off. But it's only valid for the first 50 people who use it. Don't miss it if that sounds like something you'd enjoy. Now I'm switching to a different brush, the multi-use snowball brush from my texture brush set, to add a little blush to the bear's cheeks. I'm going for a deeper, more saturated tone to really make those cute rosy cheeks pop and stand out. Next, I'm adding more definition to the facial features. First, I'm deepening the area around the white of the eyes, almost like applying eyeshadow. This makes the features more dimensional and gives the face a bit more depth. You will also notice that I'm adding some highlights to the bear's eyes to really make them sparkle. For this, I'm using a custom brush I made called Ninji Dry Ink. It's based on one of Procreate's free brushes, but I just made a few tweaks to suit my style. I also like to add a little highlight to the blush on the bear's cheeks. For that, I'm using a softer brush from my liner brushes set called Ninji Multi-Use Pencil. This helps give the blush a nice glow. So in this second step, after alpha locking all the base color layers, I'm adding some subtle color shifts to each area. This ensures that each color block isn't flat, but has some variation and volume, making the illustration feel more lively and 3D. Now that we've finished step 1, which is laying down the base colors, and step 2, adding some color variation, we are now moving on to step 3. For this step, I'm creating a new layer at the very top of all the previous layers, and I'm setting this layer to multiply. The reason I'm using multiply is that it helps us add deeper tones to the illustration, especially for shadows where objects meet or along the edges. This is a great way to add depth and dimension to the drawing. Using a multiply layer is the quickest way to add these shadows. As you can see, I'm adding darker color to the bear's face, especially around the edges. This helps to create a sense of depth and make the face look more three-dimensional. You might ask me, how do you choose the right color for this step? Well, it's actually really simple. All you need to do is tap on the area you're working on and sample the existing color from the illustration. Just pick up the color from the area where you want to add depth and you're good to go. Also, I'm still using the multi-use pencil brush. I love this brush because the brush responds to the pressure of your stroke, which allows for a more dynamic shading effect. It's not as rigid, so I can control the depths and variation of the shadows by adjusting how hard or soft I press. You might be able to see here that I'm adding shadows along the edges of the bear's arms. After deepening these areas, the arm now stands out much more clearly from the body. This really helps separate the two parts so the arm doesn't blend into the bear's body, creating a very nice distinction between the two. Now I'm continuing to deepen the shadow on the bear's arm or hand on the left side. You can think of these as adding more definition to the edge of the hand, but you can also think of it as because the hand is holding on to the honey jar, so the hand is going to create a natural shadow on the honey jar. So we are adding a darker tone where the two parts overlap. Similarly, I'm also deepening the color on the honey jar, especially along its contours. This helps define the jar's shape and adds more dimension to it, making it look more realistic. Next, I'm applying the same logic to add shadows to the bear's scarf, leg, and also the little bee. This is all part of our third step, adding the final touches. I really hope this tutorial has been helpful to you. If you've been enjoying along with me, I'd love to see your recreations. If you're posting on social media, don't forget to tag me and use the hashtag #AmandaNinjiIllustration so I can check out your work and cheer you on. I will be continuing to make more illustration tutorials. From the feedback on my Instagram, it seems like you all are really excited about Procreate tutorials. So for now, I'm focusing on creating those. But I'm curious, would anyone be interested in Photoshop tutorials? Let me know in the comments. My next plan is to focus on more animal-themed tutorials. You can check out my tutorial plans in my tutorial shop on my website. And let me know which one you'd like me to film first. Would you prefer I draw more animals, or do you want to see more flower illustrations? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget, if you don't want to miss any new tutorial updates, be sure to join my email list. You also get 2 free digital brushes once you sign up. Thank you for hanging out today, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye!